The rain was relentless that night. It pelted the windshield of my car like tiny shards of glass, blurring the road and every streetlight into glowing streaks. My fingers were clenched tightly around the steering wheel as I navigated the twisting mountain road, heart pounding louder than the storm outside. I should have stopped hours ago, but something inside me kept pushing forward, an urgency I couldn't explain. Maybe it was the silence I was running from. Or maybe it was the past catching up. That's when the deer appeared. It leapt from the forest with no warning, just a flash of wet fur and wild eyes. I slammed the brakes. The tires screamed. The world flipped. And then, darkness. When I opened my eyes, everything hurt. My car was upside down, smoke curling from the engine, glass scattered like diamonds across the pavement. I couldn't move. I couldn't even scream. But someone did hear me. Through the haze, I saw a man, his silhouette framed in the headlights of another car. He ran toward me, shouting my name. I didn't know him. At least, I didn't think I did. His voice was rough but filled with panic and care, like someone who knew me, someone who had been waiting a long time. He smashed the window and reached in. "Don't move. I've got you." The stranger cradled my head gently, spoke calming words while his hands worked quickly. He pulled me out just before the car burst into flames behind us. He saved my life, risked his own without a second thought. When I came to in the hospital, everything was blurry, but he was sitting there beside me. His face was bruised from where he'd climbed through the wreckage. His hands were wrapped in gauze. Yet his eyes never left mine. "You're awake," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "I thought I lost you again." Again. Something about that word stuck in my chest like a stone. I studied his face, the shape of his jaw, the way his brow furrowed when he was worried, the soft brown in his eyes. There was a strange familiarity I couldn't place. But it wasn't until he said his name that my world truly shifted. "I'm Ethan." My breath caught. My hands trembled against the sheets. Because Ethan was the name my mother whispered in her sleep when she thought I wasn't listening. The brother I never met. The one she said had been taken away when he was only 5, after the divorce. The one she refused to talk about. And now he was sitting beside me, grown, real, alive. "Wait," I whispered. "Did you just say Ethan?" He nodded slowly, watching me carefully. I think you're my brother." The hospital walls felt colder the next morning, even with sunlight filtering through the window. I hadn't slept. Not really. My mind was spinning, looping Ethan's words over and over like a broken record. We hadn't spoken much after that initial realization. He'd sat beside me in silence for hours, occasionally glancing at me with unreadable eyes. When I finally worked up the courage to speak again, my voice cracked like dry wood. "How long have you known?" He looked down at his hands, bandaged, trembling slightly, and took a long breath. "Since I saw your license at the crash site." "Your name?" "Eliza Grace Bennett." I remembered it. I blinked. "You remembered my name? From when you were 5? Ethan gave a short, almost bitter laugh. "It wasn't just the name. I remembered everything. Our mom's voice. The way you used to tug my shirt when you were scared. You were only 2 when they split us up, but I never forgot you." A strange ache welled in my chest. I'd grown up believing I was an only child. My mother, guarded and quiet about the past, never offered much more than, "It's better if we leave that chapter closed." I always thought she was just protecting herself from the pain of divorce. I never imagined she was hiding him. "But, why didn't you ever find me?" I whispered. "I tried. When I turned 18, I started searching. Your name was changed, your address unlisted. Mom cut all ties with my dad's side after she got custody of you. I didn't know where to begin." He rubbed his eyes. "Then 3 months ago, I moved here for work. Last night, I was driving home late. I wasn't even supposed to take that road. But something told me to go that way. And then," he paused. "There you were. The timing felt impossible. Too perfect. Too tragic." The silence between us stretched. It wasn't hostile, but heavy, filled with unspoken years and unanswered questions. "Did you ever hate her for keeping us apart?" I asked cautiously. Ethan shook his head slowly. "No. I think she did what she thought was right. Maybe she believed it would be easier for you not to know me. Maybe she was afraid I'd remind her of him. I wanted to believe that too. But a part of me was furious, angry at the lies, the wasted time, the empty family photos that should have included him." The nurse came in to check my vitals, interrupting our moment. Ethan stepped aside politely, but I could see the tension in his jaw. Something else was bothering him. After the nurse left, I leaned back and stared at the ceiling. "You're holding something back. I can feel it." He hesitated, then nodded. "There's more. But I don't want to overwhelm you." "Too late for that," I muttered. He looked at me for a long moment, then said, "I didn't just recognize your name. I recognized you. A few weeks ago, I saw you at a coffee shop near 3rd and Main. You were with a friend. I walked in, and for a second, I froze. I knew it was you, there was this gut punch I couldn't explain. But I was too scared to say anything. I thought, maybe I was wrong. Maybe it would ruin something if I approached you." My heart skipped. "You saw me?" He nodded. "I followed you outside. I was going to speak, but you got in your car and left. I stood there for 20 minutes trying to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do next. Something deep inside me shifted. This wasn't just a miracle reunion, it was fate circling, trying to make itself heard. "I wish you'd said something," I said quietly. "I wish I had too." The door creaked open again, this time it was my mom. Her eyes locked on Ethan immediately. And the look on her face wasn't relief. It was fear. The moment my mother stepped into the hospital room, the temperature dropped. She stood frozen in the doorway, eyes locked onto Ethan like she'd seen a ghost, her hands clutched the handle of her purse, knuckles white. For a few beats, none of us said a word. Only the steady beeping of my heart monitor dared break the silence. Finally, she stepped inside, her voice tight. "Can I have a moment with Eliza? Alone." Ethan didn't move right away. His jaw clenched, but he gave me one last glance before nodding and stepping out into the hallway. I watched him go, my stomach churning with unease. Mom pulled the chair closer to the bed, sitting stiffly. "You know who he is now," she said. It wasn't a question. "You knew," I replied, my voice quiet but cutting. "You knew this whole time." She looked away. It's complicated. No. It's betrayal. Her lips trembled for a second, but she quickly pulled herself together. Your father and I were in a terrible place when we divorced. I was scared. I didn't trust him, and I didn't trust the people around him. You were just a baby. I thought keeping you away was protecting you. I could hear the regret in her voice, but it felt hollow against the weight of what she'd done. You didn't just keep me away. You erased him. You let me grow up believing I was alone. I thought it was best if you didn't remember, she whispered. I didn't know he'd ever find you again. I looked at her, searching for any sign of the woman I thought I knew. Why are you really scared, Mom? Why did your face go pale the second you saw him? She blinked rapidly, swallowing hard. Because if he's here, then your father might not be far behind. My blood ran cold. I thought he disappeared years ago. That's what I hoped, she said. But Ethan, he's just like him in some ways. Stubborn. Obsessive. If he found you, maybe your father's looking too. A chill crept up my spine. You think he's dangerous? She didn't answer directly. But the way her eyes darted toward the door, the way her hand kept fidgeting with her purse, it told me everything. I didn't know what to feel anymore. Hours passed. Ethan didn't return. When I finally convinced the nurse to let me walk the hallway for a few minutes, I found him sitting alone on a bench by the emergency exit, his elbows resting on his knees, staring at the floor. Why'd you leave? I asked softly. He looked up, eyes tired. Didn't want to cause more damage. She made it clear I wasn't welcome. She's scared, I said, sitting beside him. But there's more to this than either of us knows. He didn't speak for a long time. Then, finally, he murmured, he's alive. Our dad. My heart stuttered. What? I didn't tell you earlier because I didn't want to overwhelm you. But he's been trying to contact me for months. Letters. Emails. He says he wants to reconnect. Says he regrets everything. I didn't respond, but I think he knew I found you. The weight of everything pressed on me at once, our reunion, my mom's fear, and now, a father I never knew possibly watching from the shadows. What does he want? I whispered. I don't know. But I don't think it's just closure. Before I could respond, Ethan reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded photograph, one that looked recent. It showed a man in his 60s, tall, lean, standing across the street from the very coffee shop Ethan had seen me at weeks ago. He was there, Eliza. Watching you. Watching us. I stared at the photo in disbelief. The crash wasn't a coincidence. Our reunion wasn't just fate. We were being watched. And suddenly, this was no longer just about family. It was about survival. The night after Ethan showed me the photo, I barely slept. I kept staring at the ceiling in my hospital bed, that man's face burned into my mind. My father, a man I'd never met, never even remembered, had been watching me like a ghost outside a cafe, waiting for something. Morning light crept through the blinds when I finally swung my legs over the edge of the bed. I needed answers. Ethan was already awake when I found him sitting in the hospital cafeteria, coffee untouched. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I asked, voice shaking. He met my eyes with quiet regret. Because I didn't want to drag you into his shadow. I tried to outrun him my whole life. I thought maybe, if I protected you long enough, you'd never have to feel what I did growing up. What did you feel? I asked. He looked down at his hands. Fear. Obedience. And later, guilt. I hesitated. Did he hurt you? Ethan nodded slowly. Not just me. Our mom too. A chill rippled through me. I thought she left him because of trust issues. That's what she always said. She left because he made her feel trapped. Controlled. Afraid to breathe without asking first. He took a breath. He wasn't just some emotionally distant man. He was dangerous in quiet ways, the kind that don't leave bruises you can photograph but carve into your spirit. I sat there in stunned silence, my thoughts racing. I should have told you, Ethan continued. But I didn't expect him to show up again. And now, I think he's planning something. What would he even want from me? I whispered. He slid a manila envelope across the table. I got this last night. No return address. I opened it carefully. Inside were 3 documents, an old custody agreement, a birth certificate with his name on it, and a handwritten note that read, "She kept you from me. But I always knew I'd get you back. You'll understand soon enough." My pulse pounded in my ears. Ethan's voice lowered. He doesn't want a relationship. He wants control. What do we do? I asked. We go to Mom, he said. Together. We need the truth. All of it. When we arrived at her house, the tension was immediate. She opened the door in a robe, eyes wide when she saw us standing there side by side. You shouldn't be here, she said. Why? Ethan asked. Because he might be. She hesitated, then stepped aside. Get in. Quickly. Inside, she pulled the curtains closed and locked every door. You've seen him, haven't you? I said. She gave a reluctant nod. Last week. He followed me from the grocery store. Didn't speak. Just stood there and stared. I haven't slept since. Then why didn't you tell the police? Ethan asked. Because he hasn't done anything yet. And because I know how he works. He plays the long game. I sat down on the couch, heart racing. He's trying to reinsert himself into our lives slowly. Like smoke through a cracked window. Mom looked between us, tears welling in her eyes. He doesn't want love, Eliza. He wants legacy. And you're the final piece of that. It all hit me at once. The accident. The crash. The timing. You think he caused the accident? He wouldn't have risked your life, she said. But he might have created just enough danger to play the hero later. It's what he does, build chaos and then swoop in like a savior. My stomach turned. I remembered the brief moment just before the truck swerved, the flashing lights, the sound of brakes, like someone had triggered it. He's trying to break you down, Ethan said. Make you question your life, your choices, and then offer himself as the solution. My voice cracked. I won't let him. But just as I said it, Mom's phone buzzed on the counter. The message preview read, "You shouldn't be meeting behind my back. I see everything. Tell them to stop, or I will." We all froze. He wasn't just watching us. He was inside the house. I thought the worst part was behind me, the accident, the hospital, the moment I realized the man who pulled me from the wreckage was my biological brother. But standing in Mom's dimly lit kitchen, with Ethan next to me and her face pale with fear, I felt a cold realization wash over me. I hadn't even begun to understand how deep this went. Mom's voice shook as she spoke. "Your father didn't die in a car crash, Eliza. That was a lie I told to protect you." I froze. "What?" Ethan stepped forward, his jaw tense. "You told me Dad died when I was a baby. Are you saying he's still alive?" Mom's eyes brimmed with tears, but she nodded. "He's alive. And he's the reason I took Eliza and ran all those years ago." My heartbeat thundered in my ears. "You told me my father was a good man who died saving someone else." "He was good once," she said quietly. "But something changed in him. He became possessive, paranoid, and dangerous. When I got pregnant with you, Eliza, he refused to believe she wasn't part of some betrayal. He didn't trust me, not even with his own child." Ethan's hands clenched at his sides. "You left him, and you took Eliza." "I changed my name. Started over. I had to." He was watching everything. The room was spinning. All this time, I thought I'd grown up in the shadow of loss. But it wasn't loss, it was hiding. Fear. And now, that fear was catching up to us. Ethan's voice broke through the chaos. "Wait, if he's alive, and he's dangerous, why did you never tell me?" "I wanted you to have a chance at a normal life," she whispered. "He never came after you. I thought maybe he didn't know you existed, until the accident." My stomach dropped. "The hospital records," I murmured. "He must have seen them. That's how he found us." Mom nodded slowly. "And that's not all. There was more. I couldn't take more." She walked over to a drawer and pulled out a small envelope. Inside was a folded birth certificate, old, yellowed. But it wasn't mine. It was Ethan's. I scanned the paper, my fingers trembling. And then I saw it. Father, Daniel Carter. Mother, Elizabeth Harper. My name. I looked up at Ethan, horrified. "Mom, are you saying I'm not your daughter?" Her expression shattered. "No," she whispered. "I'm saying, you're not his son." The room went still. "What?" She took a deep breath. "You're not full siblings. You're half siblings. Ethan, your father is someone else." Ethan staggered back. Then, all this time, I thought I was the one he wanted, the one he was watching. But it was Eliza. She nodded. He's been watching her, because she's the child he believes was taken from him. I turned to Ethan, the realization crashing down on both of us. That means I'm the reason he's coming. I'm the reason any of this is happening. "No," Mom said firmly. "He's the reason. His obsession, his rage, it's never been your fault." But it didn't matter. Because now I knew the truth. He hadn't just watched from afar. He was orchestrating everything, pulling strings like a ghost in our lives, sending messages, manipulating documents, maybe even causing that accident. And now, he was coming for me. Ethan stepped between us, his voice low and calm. "We leave tonight. No more waiting. No more running." "Where will we go?" I asked. He met my eyes with a look I hadn't seen before. Where he can't follow. And where we can finally get answers. But just as he turned toward the door, his phone buzzed. One message. Leave now, and she won't survive the next accident. We were already too late. The moment Ethan read the message, the air shifted. His jaw tightened, his entire body going still like a hunter tracking prey. I clutched his arm. What do we do? He didn't answer at first. He just stared at the phone, then slowly turned toward Mom. Do you have a gun? Her eyes widened in fear, but she nodded. In the garage. Locked cabinet. Get it, he said. Now. While she ran, Ethan turned to me. He's close. Maybe watching. That message wasn't a warning, it was a game. And we're already the pawns. My breath caught. We can't run, can we? No, he said. We stand. End it here. Minutes later, Mom returned with a revolver wrapped in a towel. Her hands shook as she handed it to Ethan. I never thought I'd need this again. Ethan checked the chamber with practiced fingers. We're not going to use it unless we have to. But if he comes, I won't let him hurt either of you. My heart pounded, but I nodded. We locked the doors, turned off the lights, and waited in silence. The house was too quiet. Even the wind outside had gone still, like the world was holding its breath. Then came the sound, a single footstep on gravel. Ethan grabbed my hand, pulling me toward the back hallway. Get in the laundry room. Stay there. No matter what you hear. I refused to move. No. I'm not hiding. If this is because of me, I'm facing it. He didn't argue. He just gave a tight nod. A second footstep. Closer. Mom's voice cracked. He knows the code to the front door. Click. Too late. The knob turned slowly. Ethan raised the gun. Stay behind me. The door creaked open, and a shadow stepped inside. Tall, lean, dressed in dark clothes. His face was partially hidden by a ball cap, but I recognized him instantly. The same man who stood over me after the crash. The one who vanished before help arrived. My biological father. He looked directly at me. Eliza. The sound of my name from his mouth sent a shiver down my spine. Why are you doing this? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. His smile was faint, almost sorrowful. You were taken from me. You're mine. I've waited so long. You think threatening my life is love? I shouted. He took a step closer. Ethan raised the gun. Back off, Ethan warned. I swear, I'll shoot. My father didn't flinch. He looked at Ethan as if he were a nuisance, something in the way. Half-blood, he muttered. You don't get a say in this. But Ethan stepped forward, unwavering. I saved her once. I'll do it again. Even if it means stopping you. The moment turned slow, like time thickened. My father lunged. Ethan didn't hesitate. One shot rang out. Bang. The sound echoed off the walls. My father collapsed, clutching his leg. He screamed in pain but was alive. Disarmed. Stopped. I rushed to Ethan, shaking. You didn't kill him, no, he said quietly. I want him to live with this. Mom called 911. Police arrived minutes later. My father was arrested, and for the first time in years, the fear hanging over our lives lifted. But the damage had been done. Later that night, after everything settled, Ethan and I sat on the porch in silence. I thought finding out you were my brother was the biggest twist of my life, I said. He chuckled faintly. And I thought I'd never see him again. Never have to protect someone like this. I looked at him. You didn't just protect me. You chose me. I always will. The sky lightened with dawn. Everything had changed. But strangely, for the first time, I felt safe. And yet, just before I went to bed, I opened the front door to get some air. Lying there was a single envelope. No name. Just a handwritten message, you think this is over. But I was never alone. My fingers trembled. This wasn't the end. Not yet. The house was finally quiet. No sirens. No yelling. No shadows lurking outside. Just the soft hum of the refrigerator and the ticking clock on the kitchen wall. The chaos had passed, but the weight of everything that happened still lingered in the air like smoke after a fire. I sat across from Ethan at the table, both of us nursing mugs of tea we weren't really drinking. His hand trembled slightly as he held his cup, eyes fixed on nothing in particular. I can't believe it's over, I whispered. He gave a small, humorless laugh. Over? Did you forget the letter on the doorstep? Right. That letter. The message that chilled me more than the near-death moment we just survived. You think this is over. But I was never alone. It haunted me. But this time, I wasn't alone either. The police were working the case. They found evidence in my father's belongings, encrypted phone messages, maps, notes. He wasn't acting alone. But they were closing in on whoever helped him. Still, fear lingered. I moved to the window and stared out at the street. The same one where I almost died. The same one where Ethan had pulled me from a crushed car and unknowingly saved his own sister. How wild was that? We had gone from strangers to soul-connected siblings through a twist no one saw coming. And now, after everything, he still stayed. You know, Ethan said softly, when I first pulled you from that wreck, I had no idea why I did it. I just felt something. Like I was supposed to. You were, I said. Fate. Or family. Maybe both. Mom joined us, finally out of shock, her eyes red but clearer. You both were meant to find each other. Maybe it took tragedy to do it, but I'm glad it happened. Her voice trembled as she said it, but she meant it. I reached over and took Ethan's hand. You could have walked away. After finding out the truth. After what Dad did. But you didn't. He looked at me, his eyes tired but warm. I didn't save you because I knew you were my sister. I saved you because you were worth saving. That doesn't change. Tears welled in my eyes again. Not out of fear or sadness. But because for the first time in a long time, I felt loved. Truly. A week passed. Then two. The threat stopped. The case closed. My father's accomplice was arrested in another state. It turned out to be someone who had worked with him years ago, a debt collector turned obsessive, family savior. Twisted loyalty, they called it. Whatever it was done. Ethan got a job nearby, moved into the guest house behind Mom's. I started therapy, healing from both physical and emotional wounds. Sometimes we'd sit on the porch together in silence, watching the sky shift colors. Sometimes we talked about the accident. Sometimes we didn't need to. What mattered most was that we had each other now. And nothing would ever take that from us again.